Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. And today we are going to have a look at identity and data surveillance systems, as I'm seeing some of the things going on and even thinking about things that are going on as well. And I wanted to chat about this. And it's not just like right now there's this giant network seeking to collect everybody. This, if you happen to subscribe to the Christian ideas like I do, I think that this is the data collection that goes into the one world beast systems that's going to be collected, and eventually everybody is going to get caught up into it. And I take a stance of, well, I'm going to resist it as long as I possibly can. And, if it means severing the head or severing the hand, we'll do that. Or, whatever the case happens to be. And it's just one of these ongoing, evolving things. But as I look around at the whole world and see how abusive everything is getting, and the world systems that wants everybody to know your customer, the KYC laws, everyone's like, you got to do the KYC laws. Well, the KYC laws are exactly what empowers every form of scammer under the sun. We need to abolish KYC, and we need to abolish all forms of data collection outside of what is specifically needed for transacting business with a person. And for the first article, we are going to go on down under and have a look at this Victorian school teacher is applying for heaps of rentals online, and then someone asked us access his bank accounts. So this is kind of where they get to. They get to the trifecta of everything. Now, I have my life set up. Like I've been doing this for so long that I was able to get ahead of a lot of these things before these massive changes happened, to the point where I look down and go, I have no earthly idea how, with my current moral convictions, I could even enter society right now. Like, how do you apply for a job? You can't even go to McDonald's. Like, when I got my first job and I flipped burgers at Burger King, I went in, that was my first like W-2 full hourly job. Okay. I've been working since I was in sixth grade. I was helping with the newspaper stuff. I never had a paper route, but actually I helped with the internal infrastructure. The newspapers for our small town was delivered by the city, and I would go in there and we would go and pick up the papers from the stores. We would count them, we'd basically send them the papers, and then we would collect the papers that didn't sell, and then collect the royalties from the papers that did. And then I'd also have to go in on Thursdays, and the Sunday papers were put together with the news section, which came out, Sunday morning. But then the advertisements and all that kind of stuff, those came out and were printed on Thursday. And so those would all get dropped in, and there'd be like, I think it was somewhere like 200-300 of them or something like that. And they were dropped by the guy's house, who was our local city organizer for all the paper routes and things like that. I'd have to go in there and stack them all and count them, make sure we had them all, and get everything all ready and organized. So, I was doing that. I was the one that opened and closed our local mall. I had the actual keys to the mall, and early in the morning, I was like 12 or 13, and like I have the keys to the mall. Imagine that when I go in, and I'd walk down there twice a day and unlock the doors, lock the doors, whatever else it happened to be. So I've always had jobs, but my first real wage payroll job was working at Burger King. And I walked into the place like a nervous little teenager, like everybody else. Was, can I have an application? And then of course they give me an application, and I fill it out, and I come back, here you go, and they hire me and things like that. But that's how it went. Well, if you wanted to go and work at Burger King or McDonald's now, you can't go in anymore and pick up an application and drop it off. No, they tell you to scan the QR code with your phone and then apply over there. And of course, that requires you to input anything and everything about you and agree to their app terms of service, which collects everything else about you that you don't even know, including wanting you to turn the location tracker on so they know where you're spending your nights every night. Like, we don't explicitly track where you live. We just happen to know it from the geolocation data we collect from your app. You know what I mean? And so the world is so crazy right now. And what if you want to live somewhere? You gotta, young man, you gotta get out into the world. You move out of your parents' house. You gotta find a place. Everybody now is, okay, let's not say everybody. Let's say the majority of people now are utilizing these renter streamline sites. Use all this stuff here and make sure that your renter's not skipping payments anywhere. So, you have one bad experience with a crazy landlord one place, it will definitely impact your ability ability to rent an apartment somewhere else. There's a fundamental problem with that. But outside of that, the vast majority of places, you're either going to need to do a background check, and we'll talk about those in a little bit here. You're going to need to fill out all this information, and to comply with all the know your customer laws, you got to give them information that they have no business knowing. Like, what's your birth date? Why do you care? I'm over 18. That's all you need to know. I can enter a legal contract. You don't need to know my age, my birth date. Oh, no. We got to know everything. We got to know your phone number. We got to know your email address. We got to know this. We got to know that. We got to know everything about you, man. Come on. We got a KYC. We got a KYC. And so this person, because they're just looking for a place to live, and you got to have a place to live. So what do? You go out and you start renting. And of course, every apartment now wants you to fill out the application online. And so 47-year-old Victorian school teacher in the process of moving to a new town, applying for rental properties online, because, of course, you can't do it any other way. I remember those times when I was looking for a place to live. I was just finishing my doctor's degree, and I had a full-time job at the university a couple cities over. And so I'm driving in between those two cities saying, where can I possibly live? And I stopped by the grocery store in this little tiny city in central Pennsylvania, and I go in there, and there's like, hey, there's an apartment available. And okay, I gotta like take the thing, or write. I think I had to write down the number. I call them up. Hey, I'm looking for an apartment. And they're like, okay, great. Why don't you come on by and we'll fill an application. Can you be there tomorrow? Sure, I can be there tomorrow. So I drove on out there tomorrow. We meet at the place. I hunt around the place. They have the little card table set up in the otherwise empty living room. We sit down, and I basically give them the basic information to do a background check of like, okay, this is a little city that all of the Section 8 people keep on trading apartments all throughout. And here I come in finishing my doctor's degree with a full-time job. They called me up. They're like, yeah, we don't need to look any further. If you want it, you got it. Yeah, okay, great. But that was even back then, even when I was doing more stuff with the big corporate places. I didn't fill out these apartments online. I would still go into these corporate offices, and I would go in and fill out a piece of paper. Now, they would use that information in the backgrounds and different stuff like that for sure, but it's a different landscape. I'm not agreeing to the things in their third party, so there's more incentive for them to use the information and then delete the information afterwards once the verifications are done. But with these online brokers that they're sending everybody to quote unquote streamline the process, you are agreeing to their terms, and that means they keep all of your data until you tell them otherwise, and most people don't tell you when to delete data. And so they keep it, and then they put it in their portfolios, and then they buy, sell, and trade it with everybody else, and that is how the world goes. And so what happened here is this guy, and online, he had to give his ID online, including his passport number. Got to check them passport numbers. Got a KYC. So, of course, with all of the information that these online services want to collect, they have literally picked up an identity theft dossier on you. Congratulations. So, he suspects that this happened, so he managed to get control of his phone number again. And with this, he was able to get two-factor authentication codes to access his accounts. Guys, stop tying your phone number to things. Okay. Now, I realize some things make that very difficult, but I got news for you. Like, I had to log in to update my insurance, right? Van insurance. Yeah, I need to pay it once a year. And this time you log in, we insist two-factor authentication. Email, buddy. Email. It's harder to steal an email address if it's not a big tech email address. Kind of hard. I own the domain and a registrar under my own name with full privacy stuff. I control the server. Dude, you ain't getting in. And then you have to figure out what actual address I'm using. Good luck with that. Hint, it's nothing that's used anywhere else. All right. But the problem is it's so convenient. It's going to 2FA on your phone. You got to push back against that. You got to laugh at people saying, why aren't you supporting FIDO? Your security is so 1999, You support FIDO, you can use a YubiKey. It's great, So, of course, what happened here is all these lease documents by this guy is picked up by identity theft guys and they steal all the stuff. Why? Did one of those places he applied to, was it just fraudulent? Because did you guys know that scammers who actually don't have anything put apartments out there for rent just so that people fill out the information? Did you know that happens? Kind of funny, isn't it? All right. They do the same about jobs. We'll get to there in a moment. But the report here states that renters have little understanding of where their data goes and who has access to it, and whether that information is then used to build profiles or ranking of candidates. So your best bet sometimes is just find a little mom and pop place. Unfortunately, many of the little mom and pop places are those types of places that want to collect a bunch of, they're going to use these third-party services because it's so much more convenient. So emergent data relations that result from these platforms therefore involve multiple third-party actors beyond the tenants, landlords, and property managers, increasing the risk of data misuse and breaches. Remember that in cybersecurity support funded by the oh-so-prestigious United States government, they actually, though, rightly said it is the third-party services where most data breaches occur. Because they're just hiring somebody that can do the job quickly. They don't really pay as much attention, and oftentimes they're just going for whoever the lowest bidder is. The lowest bidder's got other sources of revenue, namely the data you're feeding into it, you know. And so what can we possibly do? Of course, this guy down here mentions, hey, the real estate laws are such that the New York customer rules require you to send all this stuff. How wonderful. Real Estate Institute of Australia president says the agents are legally required to confirm tenants are who they claim to be, which necessitates the collection of personal information. Does it necessitate personal information? Is there a better way to do this? This is a question that we need to ask. Kane warns the sector will be required to collect more data from 1st of July due to how new anti-money laundering reforms will force real estate agents to keep more records, monitor, and report suspicious activity. That, fortunately, deals with Australia, but I'm not feeling really any better. Now, if renting your property isn't bad enough, we all need to have some form of job, right? Again, I set myself up. I stopped working at JOB for the man in 2010. I have been completely independent now for 16. I'm going on my 16th year. Okay. I have not been dependent on any single person or company or entity for my paycheck since that time. And I do not know how I would function this day if I had to go out and, jump onto LinkedIn and then throw out interviews out and then go and kiss some hiring manager's butt or something. Pucker up. But this is actually from a bank. This is a bank, a town bank. But they have a blog post talking about how cyber criminals are using fake job listings to grab information. So you find a job, you're like desperate at this point in time, like flipping those burgers at Burger King is looking like a sweet opportunity when the bills are coming due, right? I mean, it ain't enough to clear the bills, but it prevents me from going so far into the hole, And so you're like, I'll apply for anything. This looks promising. And so you go on and you fill out all the information and they're like, wow, you want to do this? And then, wow, we love your resume. Let's go ahead and have another interview. You have an interview with probably some AI bot, because all these companies are using AI bots to interview. I got news, man. I mean, if I were going to apply for a job and an AI bot shows up to interview me, I'd just be like, nope, not working with you. Now, rightly so, I'm also not hurting for the paycheck at this point in time. And that's, I think, where some of the challenge comes to play, right? Is what can we possibly do? And, but what they'll do now is they'll jump in and they're like, wow, you were great. And hey, you were great on the interview and you are hired. We just need you to get all this other information. We need your social security number. We need your bank account stuff because everything's going to be auto deposited and you can get to work anytime. And you wake up in the morning all ready to start in and nobody's there where you're supposed to log into work, but you check your bank account and all the money you had and there's gone. That's what these guys are doing. And so know your customer, where it's like, well, you got to verify everything. You got to know you're a customer. This is simply a way for the scammers to collect all of your data because you got to know who that guy is, And then, of course, we get into the background check stuff. hundreds of million Americans just had their background check data, phone numbers, dates of birth, social security numbers, ID licenses, things like that. Now, this is an article, I think we may have talked about this when it first came out. This is from September of 2024, so a little over a year ago now. And this actually dealt with one of these big giant conglomerate places where effectively you go in to rent an apartment, you go in for a job, you go in for any random thing, and you need to do a background check. You got a KYC, so you got to give all your information up. In this case, these guys had a completely insecure database. But look at this. It's just a company that's operating under privaterecords.net, Private Reports, People Searcher, The People Searchers, People Search USA, all of these different conglomerates under this, all just collecting any bit of data, every bit of data. They're doing, then they have to collect so much that they're sending you like FICO score and notices. They're checking, in some cases, your driving licenses. They're checking all sorts of things. And the reality is, so many companies are like, well, we got to do a background check. I don't want to go through the hassle of doing what the state provides me to do. Let's just hire this company to do it. And then now you're forcing everybody to feed a bunch of data into these networks. And so in this case here is 106,316,633 records, 2.2 terabytes of data from the database that was simply hosted on the internet without a password. Now, you might say, well, they're hosted on the internet without a password. I mean, what else is there to do? Well, it could just be, they could just be paying a guy $1,000 to, inside the company to just grab some of the funds and just report them out. There are a number of ways that cyber criminals work. It could be a security vulnerability. You could have the best security in the world and you have a rogue employee. Or do you think that NDA is like a magic wall that stops them from doing it? Of course, what's to say these guys aren't connecting to third parties, which all of these guys do. And the leaked data includes names, email addresses, IP addresses, physical addresses, phone numbers, dates of birth, employment history, property records, legal records, employment history, encrypted passwords, even data on families, relatives, and neighbors of those affected. But don't worry, guys, no financial data was leaked. I don't give a crap. I'd rather the financial data leak because I can go to the bank and cancel the card. I can't erase the stuff that they just took. KYC, man, you got to know your customer. This stuff needs abolished. Whatever retard came up with this idea, I think they need abolished as well. I don't know, man. This is insane. And this is particularly hitting home, interestingly, because I am in a situation right now where an organization I volunteer for that I very greatly like volunteering for is like, hey, we're changing things. Here's your thing to this data company to do background checks. It's like, I got all my background checks. They're right here. I don't know if they're going to take pushback or not. I won't know until we have a meeting on it. But I got news for you. I've been praying over this for a few weeks now. And if I have to give my information to a data broker, I have a dozen other things I can be doing with my time. And it would be very sad because it's a project I really, really like working on. But I'm a volunteer around here. And I am not going to compromise my integrity doing this show, warning you about these things. I'm not going to warn you guys about these and then turn around and give all my data to one of these slimy companies that has no regulation and no accountability. That is the integrity I have. So it saddens me because, frankly, I'd like to continue working with that organization. But if they cannot accept the fact that I got my background checks, they're right here. You can verify them with the state. If that's not enough for you, well, I got other things I can be doing with my time. Not to be undone, but the Customs and Border Patrol just signed a $225,000 deal with Clearview. Remember Clearview? This is that company that, without anybody's consent, scrapes the internet for any form of photos and videos of you from your Facebook pages, maybe this YouTube channel. Hi, CBP, you got me. I'm on YouTube. Oh, well. They scraped me without my consent, by the way. I do not have consent in any of this, so I think that they are violating, something, if not the morality before God. So I hope that the humans correct you, because God will send you to hell. Okay. I don't know if that's necessarily a sin, though. I don't know. I just think it's unethical. But CBP signs a $225 Clearview AI contract to access 60 billion scraped social media images, which, by the way, this should be illegal. There was a bill that somebody had proposed to make it illegal for the government to buy this type of data, because this is just the mere fact that you can own and access this type of data without a warrant is unconstitutional. There is no doubt about it. The question is, can we actually get the insane justice system in our world right now to appreciate that? And the answer to that's probably not. But, they do mention here that technology has 20% error rates on poor quality border crossing photos. Of course, error rates are much higher for people who happen to be black than pasty white dudes like me. But government transforms casual photo sharing into comprehensive domestic surveillance infrastructure without any form of consent. And that's why this needs also to be abolished. In fact, I think the entire Clearview AI business needs to be abolished. They are, by the way, violating terms of service of every site that they have done business with. It'd be really cool if all of these big tech companies, hey, Google, why don't you and Apple and Microsoft band together and sue Clearview.ai out of business? Of course, your investors are probably their investors too. So this is a pipe dream, But anyway, the vacation selfies, family photos scattered across the internet just became part of a surveillance network, social media platforms, websites, and apps. The deal transforms casual photo sharing into potential government intelligence. Yeah, it's good. These false matches could trigger investigations, detentions, or worse, all based on algorithmic guesswork. And then, of course, if you have solid alibi that you're somewhere else and the system flags you, they just nope, the computer said it, man, you're guilty. It's like, oh, get caught up in nonsense. I pray you don't have a doppelganger out there somewhere, particularly one doing uncouth things. No, Your Honor, I was somewhere else. You can check the KYC database. No, we're not checking the KYC database. You are caught up on our computers. We need to throw somebody in jail. Done. All right. So privacy advocates, of course, sound the alarm, obviously. But the thing is that, any of these digital footprints we leave becomes part of surveillance networks, if not for the crazy government, then for, the crazy businesses, the crazy scammers, the crazy other stuff, which is completely unregulated in our world. And it's a very interesting thing. And so keeping, of course, why are we talking about all this? Well, y'all knew it was coming. Sweet Discord. Kind of funny. There's a creator that I planning to start supporting here soon. I keep on forgetting to buy a card. In fact, I should write it on my list right now. Let me go ahead and add that to my shopping list before I forget. But I want to support him. At one of the perks he has is hey, we got a Discord server. It's I ain't using a Discord server. What are you talking about? But of course, we at SwitchedTolinux, we have a Matrix server, and hopefully they don't go down the same rabbit hole. They could, they may not. We've been thinking about other alternatives and things like that. But of course, Discord starting in March, they want to basically teenify the platform. You basically, every new account they don't know anything about, you are immediately marked as a teenager. If you want to not be in the teenager thing, you gotta validate yourself. Identify your papers, please. They did come out with a massive book on X, because they kept on getting they got dunked so bad. The Kraken was looking down and going, "You okay down there, Discord?" But they got hammered over this, and that they are absolutely losing out. They're trying to prevent people from canceling their Nitro accounts. Discord's gonna hurt. In fact, a report, I don't know if it's in the articles here, but a report came out, said that the search term for alternatives to Discord went up 10,000% in response to all of this stuff. And now what they did end up coming out and saying is, hey, we already know a lot about a lot of you guys. So a lot of people will continue to use Discord mostly as you've been using it, because we already know who you are. We've already collected your papers, sir. You remember that background check you did? Yeah, we got it all already. And so that is one of those things to keep in mind. They basically said they a lot of people that have had long established Discord accounts probably will not change, but anybody new will be a teen experience, and anyone they're not totally confident on will also be required to show their papers. On most adults, age verification won't be required, as Discord's age inference model uses account information such as tenure, device and activity data, and aggregated high-level patterns across Discord communities. I wonder what that means. Some Discord users will need to be confirmed as adults in order to unblur sensitive areas or turn off the various settings. And to complete age verification, they either need to complete a facial age scan or submit an ID to vendor partners. But don't worry, they're going to delete it immediately. Yeah, this is the company that they said they were going to delete it immediately and had, 70,000 pictures of identifications that were sent to Discord. Oh, don't worry, that wasn't us. That was our third-party vendor. But don't worry, our new third-party vendor, they are locked and bound by a bulletproof NDA. They will absolutely delete everything. I mean, they are going to be in trouble if we don't. There will not be any accountability. Nobody's going to get fired. Nobody's going to get thrown in jail. They just have pinky promised and sign their name to a piece of paper. And I know that they were probably from an Indian scammer company, but that's okay, I mean, them Somalis are high-level morality people. When you're known for piracy, okay? I'm not saying Discord's bringing in Somali pirates to verify your ID, but it might be safer if they did. I don't know. So IDs submitted to its vendor partners are deleted quickly and in most cases immediately. Except those 70,000 users that had their IDs leaked out. Yeah, don't worry. We've signed a new contract. That won't happen again. We pinky promise. We'll just continue to age verify you. Now, I wanted to include this other one here from Malwarebytes because Pieter Arndt's here. He actually makes an argument saying, yeah, I kind of like this lockdown thing. Can we get more of these types of accounts? Because obviously with the teen account, you can't go into like the not safe for work areas or other things that could be quote unquote dangerous. Okay, well, you might want that zest for life. But what else does it come with? Well, you then fall under COPA. They can't collect a bunch of information on you. They can't use it to sell advertisements. I mean, it's like, can we have this option for adults too? I mean, so mature graphic images would be permanently blocked. Age restricted channels and servers would be inaccessible. DMs from unknown users would be rerouted to a separate inbox. Friend requests from unknown users will always trigger a warning pop-up, and no speaking on server stages. So this guy says the amount of backlash news received, I'm probably missing something, but I don't mind being corrected. So let's hear it. All right. So basically he's saying, I don't really mind all these things you're trying to say here. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Now, of course, in my instance, I am completely against all these companies that want to collect all forms of data like this, because frankly, it is problematic, and for us looking at it, there's too many avenues to steal the data. There's too many avenues for that data to be misused or abused. And frankly, I just don't want anything to do with these organizations which are collecting, storing, sharing the entire Know Your Customer rules. I'm not saying that we need to totally abolish it. We need to totally abolish it in the form it's currently in. I agree we need to know our customers and make sure that people are who they say they are, but the entirety of the Know Your Customer rule has made it infinitely harder to actually prove that that person is actually the person. I mean, if the guy comes in the bank and declares that he's Randall Stevens, what was it, Randall Stevenson, I think, it ain't him, man. It ain't him. He has stolen all the information and put the profile together. And that's the challenge, is that all these companies want to collect your ID, and then the things leak out, and then all the scammers now have access to an entire identity theft dossier on you. But don't worry, they won't have your financial data. Like, why is everyone so concerned about the financial data and using it to target with ads? Is this some global psyop we're all in? Like, okay, I can deal with the ads. It's called an ad blocker. I haven't seen ads on anything for a long time. I see very few ads in my life, all right? And as far as the financial stuff, it is a pain in the butt, but I can go to the bank, and if even out here in the desert, if I suspect one of my accounts is compromised, I can make one phone call to an 800 number that is monitored 24/7, and I can lock that account down immediately. I mean, I know I couldn't affirm my burrito tomorrow. I couldn't DoorDash a burrito out here to the desert tomorrow. Oh, that would cause the world to end. But I care a whole lot more if the other data is leaked, far more than I care if a credit card data is leaked, because I can close the credit card and get a new one of those very quickly. That's it. That's it. Let me know your thoughts about all those as we close out this section.